All right, it's the club. We're back for another Tuesday draft. We have all fallen in love with the weekly winners format, and we are bringing on none other than Underdog's Hayden Winks, a man who turned this contest from, it was a small speck in his eye, and now it is up on the site, and we're all having a fun time drafting it. So we're going to talk through some strategy. I know he's been in the weeds looking at the data, helping us, find the best angles for attacking this really new contest format. So all of that today on the club. Let's do it. Wow, and a late entrance by Jack Settleman. Wow. I didn't know if you were just going to be one and done last week or not, but you got the bug, buddy?
Well, I wanted to do a little surprise it wasn't supposed to be cutting it this close, but now that I see you didn't get a man bun version of Hayden, I'm out, because why would I be here for just regular flow?
I can make that happen. Maybe a couple minutes into the show. Who knows?
Yeah. All right. Then I'll stick around.
There you go. Hayden, thank you for joining us on the club. How are you doing?
Doing good. I just actually finished up big content just like an hour ago. So glad Jack's out here.
Yeah, I got to check that one out. What, you guys covered the Barstool ESPN thing?
We did. And yeah, like Hayden said, good to know that I'm still alive, because there were a couple messages that there were some hit pieces possibly on me for incorrect information as it pertained to ESPN and Penn. So maybe clear some of the air there on the next episode. But I think we stuck up for Underdaddy, as I called them, pretty well on the show.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we are on Lulz on Thursday. Jeremy is going to come on, and we're going to talk about this whole thing going on with, this battle in the legal streets, and also with DraftKings and FanDuel throwing around their lobbying weight. So excited to talk to Jeremy. That'll be on Thursday, Lulz at 1:30. Hayden, any thoughts on Underdog being a true underdog in these sports betting streets?
I do like Underdaddy. So that was my main takeaway from big content.
That's right. Clay rocking the probably drafting shirt. Clay, tell the people where they can get these shirts.
Yeah, link in my bio. No, I'm just kidding. It's just pin on my Twitter account. Yeah, I thought I'd have some fun. The question of the summer, question of honestly year round now, because the daily streets and NBA streets, which I know we're gonna get back into soon. But yeah, that's what we're up to. It's we're probably drafting. Yeah. So yeah, hook yourself up. Get a nice little.
Does it come with the basketball logo too when the season flips on? Or
we have the company has some plans on a rollout strategy as we get a little further into the season. But right now we're focusing around the sport that's on top of everyone's mind. So once the club pivots over to a little more basketball, you might see the little icon here change up. Maybe throw a little hockey, little puck for the bros. We'll see what happens.
Well, speaking of multi-sport drafting, shout out to the Badge Bros. They put together quite the engagement farm list.
This has been fun
on Underdog. People are all upset about the list. John Warner knows what he's doing over there, cooking up that engagement. Andy, you did find your way on that list. Do you think you deserve to be in there with the top drafters on Underdog?
Only for basketball. I got smoked in football last year. It was great. I wasn't taking it very seriously. It was like laying on the couch on Sunday morning, just degenerately entering contests. But for basketball, I had a pretty good year. That got me looking back at some of my history, and I had a couple weeks where I was just on a crazy heater, where I got a bunch of firsts, and it was a several 5-figure week, couple weeks for me, and so I think that put me into a pretty good situation there.
You have 3 in a row at one point, or there was a week.
Yeah, I had 2 firsts in a row, but they were different tournaments. And then I had another day where I got first, second, and 7th in the main tournament. It was a good couple weeks.
Well, we do have a new format to discuss today. Obviously, we've been drafting some weekly winners here, but Hayden, why don't you maybe just wind us back a little bit, how we got to having this contest that's broken my brain 6 times over. Every time I think I get to the end of the rabbit hole, I realize something else. But talk to us about weekly winners and how you feel about at least how it's being discussed, so far this drafting season.
Well, I think one of the goals at Underdaddy is to have innovate in this space, and also for things to not go stale. And I think that We've really gone crazy with Best Ball Mania. You can go basically live on YouTube and somebody will be streaming Best Ball Mania, but I wanted like a different way to attack it. I think that another angle to it, not in addition to the strategy that we'll talk to, was like the sweat. Like you have 17 weeks of sweating every single week. I think that Pete, you and Davis and the FBI narrative last year where you can't talk about your best ball teams, that tilted me to death. So this was the way to possibly solve that. But I think the big thing is really just like the strategy elements for this.
Yeah, you know what? The FBI bit was going away even regardless of weekly winners, because once I committed to streaming all 150 of my drafts, it was I knew that people were going to want updates throughout the season. So yeah, I'm going to be carried away in handcuffs week 1 when we start to recap these teams. But no, the weekly winners format has been super fun. And every time I talk to someone about it or read comments, like people are approaching it in a different way, because you really can approach it structurally. You can approach it through a player take lens. You can approach it through a single week lens. You can approach it through different chunks of the season. It is really wild how many different ways you can go about it.
Yeah, I think that's like one thing is like, even like for zero RB, like somebody asked me, like, is this a good tournament for zero RB? And my answer is always like, it depends. Like you can either build a zero RB team properly and like really play for the back half of the season, or you can play, hey, I want my Adam Thielens and I want to project for week 2. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. And the other fun part about this is there's not data specifically for this. Like when I did my data column on this, it was looking at the top 1% of teams each week and based off of Best Ball Mania 3, which I think is as close as we can get, because I think a lot of the goals are somewhat the same, but there are some differences there. So my first like month of this doing content was like kind of based on like what like game theory bros would suggest. And then I started trying to put some data behind it. The caveat being that it's not perfect.
Yeah, and the challenge there is just like the drafts are really different. And so it's like, yeah, you can compare it back to BBM3, but you're just not going to see this, like, especially where you're seeing like at the onesies and stuff like that, where like structurally people just are building very different teams. So it's super hard to compare.
Yep, completely agree.
What would you say, Hayden, is like the biggest either mistake you see people making with weekly winners, or maybe people having what I would call best ball mania brain or puppy brain when they're drafting these?
So I think that we're getting a little bit too carried away on the roster construction. Like I think like 13 wide receiver builds and stuff like that, for example, the diminishing returns at each position still exist to some degree. Now you can push it a little bit more than you would in traditional best ball. But the thing that kind of caught my eye was how to stack. I think people look at this and like, oh, we need upside for this week. I'm going to hammer like 7 Chiefs on this team. Or the other example would be like, I want all of the Bengals. I think that you can do that in Best Ball Mania because you don't need 99th percentile outcomes in a given week. Like you actually are only, when you think about it, you're competing against 11 other teams for most of the season. And then in week 15, it's difficult to advance, but it's only out of 15 teams. And then same thing for week 16. And then it's a smaller tournament in week 17 if you get there at 441 teams. And this year it's versus 200,000. So I think that people are spending too much time on double stacks, especially on the elite teams. I've been leaning heavily into the single stacks and really playing for, I need the actual stone cold nuts to win this thing. And there's a massive difference between playing in Best Ball Mania versus trying to have a top 1 percentile finish in the tournament with 200,000 people entering it.
Jack, last week, was that your first weekly winners draft? The comments, Jack, everyone loved your hot takes. So are you going to have anything
first draft
for us?
Period?
Is that, where are we?
No, it was not my first draft, but it was my first and still only weekly winners. And I was like 99% sure the first thing out of Hayden's mouth was going to be the one thing I know is don't draft 2 quarterbacks, or like something that I did. So thankfully we escaped that. I'm sure it's not optimal, but it's not, a death sentence. But I mean, looking at my team, I don't have 13 wide receivers. I only have 4 running backs. I did use 2 quarterbacks, but one of those quarterbacks was Anthony Richardson, and he is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. So you get 7.
Who was the other quarterback?
Lamar Jackson. So high upside, high upside guys.
Hayden, I'm curious what you think about this. And another thought I had recently, and when we kind of see some of the DFS parallels with weekly winners, is that I've been noticing you kind of really can, in the same way, if you're 150 maxing a DFS contest and you want to be like, I want to have 40% like Josh Allen, Diggs, or whatever, you can kind of approach weekly winners like that. Like I've noticed some stacks are hard to get. Like you can't say I'm going to get 50% Kelsey Mahomes, but you could get 40% Allen, Diggs if you wanted. And I've been having fun kind of going into a draft being like, all right, I'm going to get this stack and then build around it. it. Have you been thinking about it from like a portfolio perspective if you're doing more than a few drafts?
Yeah, certainly. I think the other part about this, on top of the stacks, like you are leaning into a lot of Steph Diggs and Josh Allen stacks, is I think uniqueness matters like infinitely more in this tournament than in Best Ball Mania. Like we talk about the uniqueness angle in Best Ball Mania, but really like you're not facing that many people. Like you're not getting any uniqueness in the first 14 weeks against your own draft lobby. And then week 15, 16, maybe you're getting a little bit uniqueness against the 15 other teams. And then the finals, we're talking about 441 people. Most people or most players are only at like 10, 15% in that final. So the uniqueness angle in Best Ball Mania, we talk about it because it's fun, but it really doesn't matter all that much. In this, there's going to be more teams. Like let's say, for example, Lamar Jackson's the guy you need in week 4. There are more teams that have Lamar Jackson than are going to cash. How are you going to get a unique Lamar Jackson team to place first? If you are only drafting Ravens pass catchers on that team, I think it's going to be hard to actually separate because most people are going too deep into the stacks. Instead of going Zay Flowers, pick the wide receiver right next to him. Hopefully Mark Andrews is the guy you need. You stack those two guys and you're now fading Bateman. You're drafting the wide receiver right off of him. I think that the leverage and the uniqueness angle in this format's like way more important.
Yeah, I've been enjoying that angle too. Like one thing with the teams that have a lot of viable players, say like the Niners or whatever, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to I get Kittle on this one. So now I'm done with those early guys. And then I'm going to mix and match him with the Devonta Smith, or then maybe you flip it, right? And
Yes,
you get the Ayuk with the Dallas Goedert and being like, I want to attack these best offenses from a single vector and then get a bunch of different configurations.
Yeah, the example that I've been thinking about is like skipping on Steph Diggs, still drafting Josh Allen, and then drafting Gabe Davis, because I think a lot of the people that are drafting Josh Allen are only doing so when they have Steph Diggs. But now you're hoping that your first round pick beats Steph Diggs, and then Gabe Davis is the 6th round pick that you actually need. So, and also flipping these builds like the Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, just flipping those builds around, I think is a very fun way to do this.
And would you say too? Oh, go ahead, Clay.
I was just saying, like, that's kind of similar, like how, you know, I think about playing like the Kelsey situation in that realm, right? It's like opportunity costs in like almost like a round by round sense as opposed to somehow positional. And I think I really enjoyed your video with Dooley. Shout out Dooley for the stuff that he's talked about in the chat here. And oh, what's up? He's in the chat right now. Cool. Yeah, I thought it was a great video. And just like that, like thinking through the opportunity cost of like a premium stack, like you said, with the Bengals versus like if you stack a quarterback with like a, you know, round 12 and around 18 target, like that's different. And like every week that goes by, I think I land more and more on like focusing on the single stacks, the opportunity costs at every single round versus like just what you get comfy clicking in like Best Ball Mania, where it's like, I even think, you know, I would love to dive more in the data on like the RB and wide receiver stacks that I think have became like more popular this year in like Best Ball Mania. For example, if you go back to the Jacobs and Devontae stack like last year, that crushed in a lot of respects. And I believe in even like the daily contest, I'd have to ask the, you know, like John and the Badge Bros about this. Like there was often times where I believe Jacobs and Adams were like in that winning lineup for the dailies, right? On like a couple times. So it's not that it's impossible, but I think it's just like way less frequent that a stack like that happens versus a single stack with a QB or a QB paired with like late round stack options if you're just trying to soak up those kind of points. So I don't know if you have any more thoughts there on like the round by round like opportunity costs, but like I just find that really fascinating with this contest.
I do think looking at this by round case is a good way to do this. Dooley actually had some really cool data. It's like he was looking like the top 50 overall teams, so not top 1 percentile. So like this is even a higher threshold. And it's like 90% of these teams that hit that benchmark use their first round pick. Like 85 in their second round pick was in their lineup. Third round, it was still like in the 75 range. So the way I always look at it is like my first 4 rounds, I have to assume that these guys are in. So like going back to like the Lamar Jackson example, if we're drafting Lamar in the second round, I'm probably going to stick with my one quarterback. But now when we get to like Deshaun Watson, then I would do Deshaun Watson and Anthony Richardson like all together. But you have to win basically like the first 4 or 5 rounds.
The other thing that going back to like the DFS thing, I always think about, you know, on a weekly, say like a guy's going to be 40%. Say it was like Devontae Adams and no one's playing Josh Jacobs, or maybe at the time it's like Mac Hollins or whatever. And it's like, how does he fail? And I can leverage that. Like I don't draft a lot of Zay Jones, Tyler Boyd types in Best Ball Mania. I love those guys in BBM or it's in weekly winners because they can be the guy that wipes out the Chase Higgins teams, the Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley teams, because it's their one big game. And then you put them on with your other early round picks and you get that direct leverage element.
Yeah, the other part of my data is it leans more running back heavy into your flex. Not only do the running backs occupy the flex for the top 1% teams more often, but they also score more points. And the way I attack that is draft Isaiah Pacheco, draft Rashad Penny, these running backs on teams with elite quarterbacks and elite wide receivers. If Isaiah Pacheco's like has that top 1 percentile outcome, he's the RB2 on a week, it's a little bit less likely that like Mahomes and Travis Kelce went completely nuts. So I have been like trying to snipe off other teams throughout this as well.
We have just hopped in a draft. We got the crew here. Hayden, you can be my co-pilot.
We're not all back to back this time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the 1-3. We got Clay 1-7, Andy 1-9, Jack 1-4. So we do have two little mini pairings here. Hayden, what is your thoughts when Jefferson and Chase go off the board? Are you taking the plunge with Kelce, or do you think going somewhere else is the play?
Who do you think is going to score the most points this year? Any of these guys? I would go Cooper Kupp personally, but I'm okay with McCaffrey or Eckler or Hill.
I lean going the wide receiver here for some of the stuff too that Dooley's data has shown with the opportunity cost of Kelce versus
or
the other guys.
No Kelce?
I'm kind of out on Kelce. He didn't separate.
You should go Kelce, Jack.
Yeah. The weird part about Kelce is he had like the best tight end season ever basically last year, and there was a lot of weeks where like he would score 25 and like Higbee would score 22, and you'd rather like start Higbee. So it's like one of these things where like, yes, for sure, Travis Kelce can have a 30-point game and run away with this thing, but I think there's better odds that Cooper Kupp has a 35 points than like Kelce gets to 30.
Yeah, it's pretty much Mahomes and Richie James in that offense to own. I feel that.
Hey, did you happen to see? So last week we did one of these, and Mahomes came all the way back around to the Kelce drafter, and he just passed on him.
Oh man,
it's like that's the one time where that's probably happening. What, like 2 to 3% of drafts, maybe?
Yeah.
It's like, you got to scoop that.
So
up.
what would you say is the pick where you like? Would you take Kelce here at 8, or like I'm an Austin Eckler guy. I have so much fucking Austin Eckler.
I probably go Eckler for sure. I think I would go AJ Brown. I like AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts a lot, but I think like pick 10, 11, 12 is where I would be taking Kelce.
Because now to go back to the uniqueness element, the player that D Dam here is going to get with Travis Kelce coming back around is probably going to be pretty unique relative to most drafters.
And that definitely matters. So like, even if my projections don't think so, like the uniqueness angle of getting 2 first-round guys together would be really, really helpful in this case.
Yeah. Anything else, Hayden, jump out to you like that goes on in the first round? Because like other than some small tweaks of like, Kelce, it's normally pretty similar to like a BBM first round.
Yeah, I didn't really have any strong takes in my column. I like did like a just baseline, like a weighted average of how often each player has spiked, how like what percentage of the position spikes went to that player, and like other like point over replacement at the spike level. And I like weighted all of them, and it's like basically all the guys that we're used to. Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams. I would say Derrick Henry in this format, I think, is even more has more upside because you don't need him for the entire the entire season like you would in Best Ball Mania. If he's alive and going crazy for the first 8 weeks, like you can easily have some cashes. So I like players like that.
Yeah. And I've been, again, I've been joking that he's better in best ball, better in weekly winners is the new. Like, I have a little fear about Devontae Adams and just like the whole Raiders offense, and could it just be a shit show down the stretch? But like weekly winners, it's like, who cares? Like, if I get 6 weeks and, Devontae Adams gives me 3 30-point games, like I'm going to be very happy with that outcome.
Yeah, he actually came out first in that weighted average metric that I made up.
Yeah. I love that. So Andy goes Eckler, Garrett Wilson. Clay does get Devontae Adams in Amon-Ra right there.
Oh my god!
Last week we got up to I think 6 fuck Andy's because he kept sniping me, and that was the first one right there. I was really hoping for Garrett to make it back. So we're off to a hot start, baby.
Yeah, my the amount of my drafts where I have Devontae Adams is getting to a point in general that's a little bit terrifying.
Why?
And so
He's the best receiver in football.
His team's gonna suck though.
I need to go back. I believe last week you
sounds
said
like they'll be
Adams on the board.
sounds like they'll be throwing
Adams
football
on DraftKings and like 16 or 17% on Underdog.
So
I just
no double stack here with Waddle is what we're saying.
I would say for
I
sure
would
not.
not do that.
For
Yeah.
sure not.
All right, I'll just take the actual
But you should definitely do that, Jack.
wide receiver here.
So what do you, Hayden? This is a choose your own adventure. Either you make case. I like doing the elite onesies. Waddle. What do you think's the play?
We can do Team Olds and go Derrick Henry and Cooper Kupp and build this thing for the beginning, or we can do. I would be okay with building with Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, possibly.
Yeah. Who do you think you play the ADP with Andrews first?
Yeah, I guess I would rather have Lamar in a vacuum, but to play for the stack, you got to.
Yeah. I guess you have a little cover with Josh Allen here, which helps. But if both of these guys want a QB, then we could be in trouble. Talk to me about that, because I have been doing like more like structural things. You mentioned the Olds build. Have you seen people like load up on those early season guys?
I'm not sure. There's so many different strategies that's like even hard to tell what people are doing. Even like when you're looking at this, like I'm not sure if there's like a week that they're pointing out. It's hard to like, I don't have all the bye weeks memorized. So, like looking at a board and like trying to like hindsight tell what they're actually building for is fairly difficult. But I do think like that's the way to build player archetypes, stack them up together. I think is definitely a sharp angle. Did
you sign off on one QB? Like, is there any reason to take more than one quarterback?
Yeah, if they're late, I think you should definitely draft multiple quarterbacks.
Yeah,
because they add like a quarterback too can still make your lineup like a lot of the time. Now I wouldn't do it for like the first 4 or 5 rounds if you've drafted a quarterback that high, because like you do
like Lamar
want those points. Yeah, for sure.
So we do get the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack with Cooper Kupp, and Jack is staring at Jalen Waddle again at the top of the queue.
Never that. We're staring at. Who are we staring at?
Take the plunge with Fields? No, go T.
No.
So what are you, Hayden? And I agree with you completely. Like, can build out those like late, cheap QB, a bunch of those skinny stacks, and I think those builds are fun. I still find myself gravitating to getting these elite quarterback prices, and I'm actually kind of surprised they're not priced up even a little more in this format, because this is, I guess Mahomes goes here to the Kelsey, but otherwise, like, this isn't that different from the BBM prices.
Yeah, it really isn't, because I think a lot of people are trying to build for the stacking in mind. So it's kind of like NFL playoffs best ball, where you can get players sliding a little bit more than usual, which helps you out. But I somewhat agree. The elite quarterbacks, like over the last couple of years, have really hit that 30-point threshold that I've been looking for like a top 1% team on a week. I mean, it's like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. They keep doing it over and over and over again. So you're definitely getting sweat equity with those guys. And I think that they have even more like 1 week ceiling than they've shown. Like Jalen Hurts hasn't had like a massive week in the regular season yet, but we've seen him in the playoffs like have 40+ point games. I definitely think they could do that this year a little bit more, for example.
Yeah, just to hit on this one because I guess we've kind of been dancing around this, but not explicitly saying it. So Cash Rule says, why not Waddle? Double stack, no good in weekly winners. The thing we've been talking about, in Best Ball Mania, you'll hear us say like the ping ponging effect, where like last year on Pat's winning team, he had Barkley and Daniel Jones. And it's like 1 week Barkley goes off, the next week Daniel Jones. But those two players and these wide receivers, Tyreek and Waddle, are often inversely correlated in their like extreme 99th percentile outcomes. And to get first place in weekly winners, you need a 99.9% outcome. So if Hill drops 40, could Waddle have a 25-point game? Sure, but he's probably not having a 40-point game. And so you'd rather have Tyreek Hill with another second-round pick who goes for 30 and scores that extra 5 points. Like, that's how I think about it. Hayden, is that similar for you?
Yeah, that's the main point. And then the second point is more people are drafting the teammate than they should be. So there's also like ownership or drafted rate advantages to like what Jack did with Calvin Ridley instead of Waddle. Like, how many teams with Tyreek Hill would have taken Ridley over Waddle? And like I said, if Tyreek Hill is the guy you need, you still have to beat 2/3 of the other Tyreek Hill teams. So I would be trying to find one-offs and have like hit the stone cold nuts rather than like hoping for that like 70th percentile outcome from Waddle.
And I'd add that the draft capital too is major, because like you're looking at Hill and Waddle in like rounds 1 or 2 or 1 or 3 here versus like Daniel Jones going like whatever he went last year, which is like super late. Or it's like, I mean, I think, Higgins and Chase and Waddle and Hill are just in a different kind of conversation altogether. Is a little bit of how I think about it.
And this is a really good note from Dooley. So Dooley says Hill Waddle would have actually won a weekly winners last year. That was that insane Ravens game. And he says, but Waddle went round 4. And that's where the price thing really comes into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're getting that second guy, 5th, 6th, like say Gabe Davis with Diggs, I could see paths where that could work. But the price of and the opportunity cost of 2 early picks, it makes it really hard.
And that was also a crazy game. Like we shouldn't expect that to happen. Like that was a ridiculous game. The other thing Jack did with the T Higgins, which is fun, is since Jamar Chase is on the very left of the board, there's a good chance that Burrow's actually going to slide all the way. So if you draft Higgins on the right side of the Jamar Chase team, you're going to most likely get that quarterback stacking. So like where players line up on the board, I think really matters going back to that kind of the single stacks, but also like the uniqueness angles of your team.
It also feels like so comfy to like have like your single stack be an elite option, but also be like your wide receiver 3 or 4. Because if that stack's hitting, right, and let's say I think it works really well.
Real quick, sorry to cut you off, but I have Higgins and I have Ridley, and it's Mixon and Etienne. I assume I don't want running backs from those teams.
I would say probably not. If you got a good ADP discount on them, I think it'd be fine, but I would just go Burrow. Unless you really like Lawrence and wanted to like wait for him instead.
All right, Hayden, do you think
like
we
that.
take a running back plunge or keep getting wide receivers?
This is where like Joe Mixon, you're sniping off the settlement type of teams and the Jamar Chase drafting teams, especially if we're drafting Cooper Kupp. That's kind of like really betting against Jamar Chase in general. So I like Mixon a little bit if you're okay with him. I think he has a lot of upside. Like there's like lots of downside risk with him in BBM, but in this, like we've seen, he scored 50 points last week or last year.
Let's do it. Also, real here for Go AZ cards. I mean, this is the whole thesis of the player. The prize is paid out weekly or at the end. Weekly, 20,000 to the top guy weekly. Yeah, that's what's so fun about this. You can get that.
Is there anything at the end, season end, or it's just weekly?
Nope. Cash early.
Yeah.
Unless you cash week 17.
Yeah.
I was curious to see if the execs wanted to do week 18, and because you can if we included week 18, there would have been some sicko drafts in here. If you're like, I'm building for week 18.
Yeah, that's where you could start drafting your
Draft
peer
backup
strongs.
QBs.
That would be wild, but I think it's already wild enough.
So let's see here. This is I like Kenneth Walker, Ayuk, or Kirk look interesting to me. What do you think, Hayden?
I'm fine with Ayuk or Walker. Those two kind of stick out with me.
Yeah. I've been naturally doing way more of the like 0 RB builds that'll shock everyone. So let's do a Kenneth Walker, another guy who, like Mixon, can rip off big chunk games there. So I have Cooper Kupp, then the Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson stack. Grab a couple of running backs, Mixon and Kenneth Walker. Jack has Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, TJ Hawkinson. He adds Aaron Jones, Clay, pissing it yellow, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devonta Adams, Deebo Samuel, Mike Williams, and Andy, who I believe did you do the Fields DJ Moore stack last time as well, Andy?
Yeah, I'm such a slut for DJ Moore in this in this tournament.
I'm sure that preseason touchdown didn't help the cause either.
I mean, it was kind of a fluky touchdown. I'm trying to be level-headed.
Nah, that's his talent. That's why you draft him. He always takes awful throws behind the line of scrimmage to the house.
There you go. Do you have cutoffs, Hayden, where you think, because everyone's always asking about like the 1 QB or 1 tight end. Do you have any kind of like tier cutoffs where you're like, I think once I get to after Darren Waller, I want to be doing 2 tight ends or whatever?
I think at tight end, there's so much more volatility at the position on a week-to-week basis. And I think that the late round tight ends project better than a lot of the wide receivers and running backs that go next to them. And they go a lot of times undrafted. So I like tacking on tight ends. I'm not as high on the quarterback 3 market, like the Stroud and beyond tiers kind of tough for me. Like I don't see them really competing with Jalen Hurts and Mahomes and stuff. And the other thing about the late round tight ends is if like Kelsey misses time this year or like Mark Andrews doesn't bounce back, there could just be a situation where like none of the tight ends are separating. And at that point, you just want to spend as like little on the position as possible. I don't see like 7 of the top quarterbacks busting. There's an outcome where Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews take a big step back.
Yeah. Cards here. I would say handcuffing is, especially at those prices, is just a huge no-no. in this format. Like if you wanted to take 2 like very late round running backs from the same team, like if you did even a Foreman, Roshan Johnson, I don't think that's bad, but anything in the top 10 picks is probably too much opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts goes at 61 here. Andy, you do get Gabe Davis. Clay takes Waller. What are you going to do with this pick, Andy?
If I can get George Kittle 9 picks past ADP, I will take him. But I'm this guy, he already has Kelsey, so I'm gonna assume that I get Kittle here, and my general strategy in this, like I said last time, is I just like drafting good players.
Yeah.
And I think George Kittle's a good player.
What do you think about this, Hayden? Because I do think it is very fun. Trust me, as the week 17 stack, you want to stack up week 3. I think it's fun. I just don't know how realistic or viable it actually is to go after 1 week.
I think in like my first 7-8 picks, I just want the highest projected player that like makes sense from my build, like team stack, like within team stacks. And then after that, I think you can be like, okay, this team looks pretty good for like early on in the season. Like I think this team, like Lamar Jackson has injury risk, same thing with Cooper Kupp. Like then maybe you can pull up like week 3, week 4, something like that. But I think it's very low on the totem pole.
Yeah. And I think it is. And again, if you kind of get later and you are doing tiebreakers and stuff, and you've lined up a few weeks, but I think it's just hard to do that really well.
Yeah.
All right, Hayden, probably a wide receiver pick for us. Who do you like here?
Addison, fight on, baby.
Let's do it.
I like the bye week stacking there as well.
Ooh, yeah. Talk about that. Have you guys been doing a lot of bye week onslaughts?
I definitely find myself doing it, even if it's just like by accident. But I mean, like, yeah, I have 3 bye week 13, and granted 2 of them are on the same team. But like, I feel like I kind of use it to like break ties more than anything else. Where it's like, of 2 players, same tier, that one has the same bye week as my quarterback, and it's only really matching with a quarterback. And tight end if I only have 1 tight end.
Yep. Hayden, we're gonna have our 7th round pick here coming back on the wrap. Our team so far: Lamar, Andrews stacked up. We got Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker at running back, Kupp and Addison. Looks like another wide receiver pick. We passed on Marquise Brown. Will we take the plunge? Will we do another rookie, Quentin Johnston? What do you think?
I like Marquise Brown. The other thing I've learned about this is the difference between ADPs and weekly winners and in Best Ball Mania is the players, the players who have teammates that are elite picks get pushed up even more. Like the example I was using a couple weeks ago is Kadarius Toney was going ahead of Chris Godwin because of all of the Mahomes drafters in this. The projection still matters. So like a player like Marquise Brown, there's no reason to draft Marquise Brown like structurally based off of this. But I think because he is more of a one-off play because the Cardinals stink, I do think that his projection versus his cost makes a lot of sense. So I like for my flex options like Marquise Brown right here, I kind of like picking these wide receivers that are on like shitty teams because I think that they dropped in price because of the stacking ADP bump.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how some of these are playing out. Jack, you do get Tua there at 76 to get that stack with Tyreek Hill. I like that pick. Were you considering trying to push it a little more? I know Tua's, what's his ADP? 72? No, that's right at ADP. So probably.
I mean, if you look at the board, I was like, all right, Clay's not going to take him. And Ray Fox is the only one without a quarterback. It wouldn't really make sense to take him. Like, the problem is I don't trust everyone and that people are going to like and that's probably just me projecting because I take picks that make no sense all the time. But I thought like maybe there was a chance I could get him at 93 or when's my next pick? Yeah, 93.
Yeah, 93. Yeah.
But I took Tyreek 4th. So it's like, it's probably not likely that that's going to happen and compare him with Hill. So yeah, just took to it. But I got JSN, who's the best rookie wide receiver in the class. So that was good.
Yeah, it is different, right? Because like in BBM, like the Waddle drafter, even if they have Hurts, like they still are a prime candidate to take Tua. But here you can probably let him slide back. But I agree with you, Jack. My guess is somebody like Ray Fox would have probably taken the plunge coming back. Because again, like it's not the end of the world to have Tua there. You tack on Smythe and try to bink the 1 week
or something.
Yeah.
Or if Hill and Waddle split all the points, so they both end up with 25, but Tua still throws for 4 tutties. Yeah, I mean that's kind of fun too. I mean, I'm getting more into that mindset as well, where it's just like, I don't know, naked quarterback or elite quarterback unstacked is definitely a way to get unique automatically.
And I think a lot of the Tua teams, like we said, are the double Dolphins players. If we think that's bad, like you want Tua to go off with Tyreek, and then all you're saying is my second, third round picks are going to beat all of the Waddle teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you like? I know we're all going to be excited to see this data after this year. Like I'm already getting excited to see what some of these teams that bubble up to the top look like. What are there any things you envision happening? Any surprises or maybe even leanings that you think we might like be like, holy shit, this was actually something we should have been considering?
I think running backs have a higher ceiling than the wide receivers in ADP, like throughout the draft board. And for Best Ball Mania, there's some advantage the wide receivers have, like mainly like staying healthy, and like team stacking is more important in Best Ball Mania, like we've talked about on the show, where I think that the running back prices on this are going to look pretty appealing, and the running back prices keep dropping. And the running back prices are even down in weekly winners versus Best Ball Mania. So I think more running backs early would probably be my stance.
Let's see here. So Andy, speaking of, goes Montgomery and Alvin Kamara. Clay has done Sanders, Javonte, and is on the clock right now for another pick. What are you going to do, Clay?
I'm sure pull the trigger a little bit early. Yeah.
Wow.
I was hoping he'd come back around, but Paul in the one hole doesn't have a quarterback, and I'm not sure where he is leaning. And yeah, you know what? Like we'll shoot for the moon ball here because I don't want to miss out, and I don't have any, like I have some stacking options like later, but I've done those in other drafts. So let's get a little bit more ARX exposure.
And now that he's been announced the starter, people can feel much better about their 8th round picks. When are we going to start celebrating Dak Prescott being announced the starter? 2 of you and all of our other 8th and 9th round picks are going to be the
8th round of weekly winners. I wouldn't have taken an 8th round in other contests, to be fair. But
Snapback Jack on the
pick I had lined up there was Alvin Kamara, to be fair. I was not going to take AR, but of course, you got the third Andy of the streaming so far. So
yeah, I like him as a RB3 considering his suspension and everything.
Who do you like here, Hayden?
One of the wide receivers that projects best. Yeah, I'm indifferent.
I would probably be Burks or Sutton. You got to lean.
Let's do Treylon.
Let's do it. It is fun to see. Has anyone pulled like ADP differences from Best Ball Mania and weekly winners yet?
Yeah, I've looked at it a little bit. The big difference is quarterbacks are up a little bit. Tight ends are up just a tad bit. The running backs, because of that, are down a little bit. And then Taysom Hill's up about 70 spots, even though he's playing behind Jimmy Graham in the preseason. And yeah, those are like the main points.
Because I was going to say Penny is a guy that I noticed go earlier in weekly winners, like by 15 picks almost every draft. Let's go ahead and grab Sutton while we're at it. What do you think?
Nice. Yeah, that totally works with me.
And so this kind of goes back to the thing we were talking about with like the Gabe Davis Diggs example or whatever. Like, would you have given any consideration to tacking on Bateman with Lamar? Or do we just ride the Lamar Andrews pairing?
I would ride with it, and the advantage of riding with that is maybe everyone else doesn't want them because they don't have Lamar Jackson. Like if we get a massive discount on Bateman, I think that would be beneficial. But yeah, to me, like what I said, like we just need Mark Andrews to go crazy and then Courtland Sutton to smash Bateman, and all of a sudden we have a pretty unique team.
Yeah, I think that is why Oh, go ahead, Clay.
Obviously, I'm really torn. Like, this is like my line for where I'm like, where is double stacking good to not good at all in this contest? And like, I'm really torn right now between like Amon-Ra and like Jamison Williams. And then if like you wait on Goff to come back, and then I'm just spent draft capital on Richardson, so I probably don't want to go quarterback again so soon if I want to take another one there. So it's like these are the fun things to think through. But I think I did a draft where I did stack up Lions pretty heavy recently. So I'm gonna go for some touchdown equity here since we're in half point PPR.
Well, the good news about that Lions double stack is you can take their wide receiver 2, Josh Reynolds, in round 18.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, actually, I think their wide receiver 2 is just Sam Laporta, right?
Possibly.
Yeah, that's a
it's
draft
Jahmyr
capital I'm talking
Gibbs.
about.
Laporta's 3, I was told last week.
You know, things change, Jack. Things change.
I have one or two like really stacked up Lions teams, and I think it's either BBM or Puppy, and it's like that feels good because it's just like it's going to like one of these 4 targets, like heavy. It feels like.
Hayden, we didn't talk about the Zeke and Dalvin Cook signings. I'm seeing the prices here. Dalvin Cook goes 74. Where does Brees go? 44. How do these prices look to you here? Where did Ramondre go? 36. Anything seem too high or too low to you after that?
I think in my updated rankings, all 3 of those players were like within 5 picks of where I have them ranked. So I think this is probably about right. I don't think the market's going to go too crazy with Brees Hall dropping. I think probably 44 to 48 is probably where he's going to hang out. A lot of people still remain really bullish on it. My whole take on it, though, is Dalvin Cook sells a lot of upside. Like, they just paid him a lot of money. Like, he's been a bell cow before. This offense is breeding running back points. We've seen this both from Aaron Rodgers and this running scheme. Like, probably would have been better if he was in Miami, but like the upside case for Dalvin, if something happens to Brees, I think is being a little bit overlooked.
It's interesting to see like how you compare him to like, you know, maybe J.K. Dobbins, slower start, like Dalvin Cook. Then that goes back to the whole thing of like, do you want to try to build like a balanced weekly winners team for the whole year? Or do you want to try to shove your chips all in on like, I'm going to just try to win this early season? Because like to me, Dalvin Cook, like 1 through 6 weekly winners looks a lot better than week 11 to 17.
Yep. I think it's totally fair. That might make him undervalued though in weekly winners. I do think like having just weeks where you project really well to me, like definitely matters. I don't want like somebody that's like projects okay for the entire course of the season. Like if you can't hit this threshold of like 25 fantasy points in a week, like I don't really want you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a fun thing here. I feel like that where it's an interesting spot in the wide receiver group here, where it's like for best ball, it's a bunch of guys where it's like whatever, sure, I'll take. I think Juju's maybe a little bit of an outlier here if he's kind of just wide receiver 1 by default, but it's guys where it's like, can I tell myself a story where, you know, one of these guys is scoring 30 fantasy points, or like how the hell do you draft Darnell Mooney at pick 130 here comparatively to some of the other guys around him I have a hard time with?
Yeah.
How do you draft Michael Pittman? When is he scoring 25 points?
I was looking at it. You need this is just for the top 1 percentile, not to like bink the whole thing. Like you need 18 points at least from your wide receivers. Like, and that's like for your like wide receiver 3 or flex. Like you probably need 20 points for your flex.
Hayden, what do you think of like the Pirine Sutton pairing, or would you try to split off of that?
I would just say who projects best in a 1 week sample ceiling wise. I maybe would argue Juju or I think I'm fine with Pirine though. Either one of them.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get Juju coming back.
Yeah, like guys, this is the range like talking about these Broncos guys where like we're not banking on Pirine or Sutton. Like we're beyond the point where like we need these guys. Like a lot of teams aren't going to be using their 9th round pick. Like we just need like the guy that's in this range that's going to pop off a couple times. Like the first 4 or 5 rounds, like we need those guys. This point in the draft, like I'm throwing out the team stacks a lot more. So like I would draft multiple Giants wide receivers, especially like on a Daniel Jones team. I would not necessarily do that like with Lamar.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is kind of a way, I think, the running back wide receiver at cheap costs, not taking like 2 in the first few rounds, is a way to still get some of the correlation benefits, right? Like we want the Broncos to be good for this team. We're drafting there. And so there are going to be weeks where both can hit. Let's you like Juju here?
Yeah, I do. Sadly.
I drafted him yesterday in Best Ball Mania around this similar price. How are you feeling about the Pats? I think in general, it's like everyone's so like down on the Pats right now, except Redmond, of course.
Yeah, maybe it's the Redmond effect, but when I was doing my rankings, it's the team I have over their ADP by the most. Like I am huge Hunter Henry bags. I have huge Devontae Parker bags. I have huge Juju Smith-Schuster bags. So I need Mac Jones to turn into like a mini Phillip Rivers in the worst of ways.
Yeah.
There you go, Jack. Take your guy.
Well, when I found out he was a second round pick, I was in on him. But imagine drafting Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. Is Sky Moore still top 216 ADP?
What? 216?
I think he's top 100 ADP still.
Top 100, yeah.
That's insane. I mean, if you want other punt returners, just grab like Devin Duvernay out there. Maybe you could get a Devin Hester share. Who else could you get that returns punts? No one in the top 100.
Sky Moore is kind of like what's happening with Darren Waller on the Giants, where everyone is like so fed up with all the other options that they're like, we just have to anoint someone to be the lead dog. And I'm not even saying I don't like Darren Waller, but people seem to be pushing him up more so because they don't like Isaiah Hodgins and less so because they're just like so stoked on Darren Waller. Taysom Hill does go 125 here.
Yeah, I'm out on Taysom after listening to you guys earlier.
He played behind Jimmy Graham. Jimmy
Yeah,
Graham.
that's scary, man. I know. Oh man, and you're talking about
Is Jimmy Graham a Hall of Famer?
College basketball?
Probably.
Or...
Yeah.
College basketball. I can't believe that you haven't gone with the weekly winners optimized for week 17 bit yet. Like that seems to be the best way to play this. Is like, oh, you got to build your teams just for week 17 in weekly winners.
The funny thing is, though, it goes back to kind of what Hayden was saying too about like how people do many things that they do in best ball. What? You're getting the bad vibe. Yeah. No, I think I do it like I do my 12 team leagues or whatever for like the randomizer drafts, and you look and like people reflexively correlate week 17. I guarantee you there's some reflexive week 17 correlation in weekly winners where like the bit would be to be like do week 1. Like at least pick a week that everyone's not doing, where I bet there's some accidental week 17 stuff that you actually want to avoid in weekly winners.
It would be hilarious to win week 17, like you win your 20,000 while everyone else is celebrating 3 million. 3 million. You actually took a tournament, and Crane still won 3 million.
And you know what's so sick about that is your team will have scored like 60 more points than the Best Ball Mania. You've been like, I would have won the 3 million. It's like, yeah, but your team wouldn't have gotten there.
I can't wait. Book it. That's definitely going to be a tweet on fucking that day. It's like, my team was in BBM4. I would have taken down the $3 million prize.
Yeah,
my team has officially become a week 13 bye week team now. Let's accident.
Check it out.
My wide receivers are a little bit bye week 13 heavy.
Oh, there you go. You've done it.
No, nice.
I like it. I've actually taken the other
Myers.
What about Jacoby?
It's just unless he, I guess, has 42 catches for 300 yards. I don't know. Does he score touchdowns?
I just think that one season he might catch a touchdown. That's kind of my bet.
That's this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
fair. Makes sense.
What were you gonna say, Hayden, about?
Yeah, I've been looking at like if I am going to pick a week for bye weeks, it would be stacking week 7 and 13 because there's the most teams in the NFL that are on bye. So if you can like build a team that has no players on that, all of a sudden you've chopped off like 25% of the player pool.
Yep.
I kind of like Algier or Mostert. What do you think, Hayden?
I think I like Algier. I like kind of sniping off the Bijan teams, and I think that he's pretty damn good. Raheem will rise though, so I think he'd still be a good pick in this.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see how much those Dolphins guys start to. I assume A-Chain will be the biggest riser just because people are going to be most excited about him. But I mean, Wilson and Mostert definitely need to come up.
Yeah, A-Chain's going 101 in my punt gunner league.
Is Justin Watson 102 in that?
There was some fake news on that Watson tweet. There's another corner on the Chiefs, last name Watson. He was actually talking about that Watson, not Justin Watson.
My punt gunner league. Does Sky Moore score punts if he gets tackled by one of those punt gunners?
That's in the punt muff league, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah. God, can you imagine if they trotted Sky Moore out there to return punts again?
Who's going to return punts?
Wait, actually, you know what's really funny about that? I was watching, you know,
He's going to return punts this season.
These off-season clips is Sky Moore talks about in this like last episode of the Chiefs put out about how like after he got benched from like returning kicks that he stayed ready and like practiced, stayed after practice to practice catching punts, so that way when they put him in the AFC Championship game and he was ready because they had no one else. It was pretty incredible.
Gosh. That's like that would be a funny bit. They take the jugs machine and they just point it up.
Yeah.
They're like, Sky Moore's on the jugs machine, but they're all just pop flies.
Yeah, Sky Moore won't return punts because Kadarius Toney's going to return punts until week 2, and then Sky Moore will return punts when Kadarius Toney's hurt, and then Sky Moore will muff those punts, therefore vaulting Rashee Rice and Richie James as wide receiver 1 and 2. MVS, who is the worst wide receiver in NFL after Sky Moore, will see the bench. Justin, is Ross confirmed hurt?
But so they think he avoided like serious injury.
I also noticed, because they were joking about it in the ship chasing Discord, that we're now at the point where we have to determine, did they write off on the front of the cart or the back of the cart, and whether that means it's worse or better than initially reported. Oh my God, we need the season.
We need maps of the training camp to see how far the locker room is.
Yes.
That's the other column in the model.
Yeah. I can imagine, like, how sick would that actually be? I'm picturing like a Game of Thrones type map showing the different worlds of every facility, and it's like, well, this is actually like a 3/4 mile walk, so it does have to be the cart.
Yep.
No,
It'll
there's
come.
like 6 teams that have
come.
like training camp at different facilities too, so then you have to go to like Wofford College like blueprints for the fucking Panthers. Like,
Yeah. Oh man.
The good news is AI in 2 years will be able to do that project in 4 seconds. So we're not
There
too
you
far
go.
away from that.
All right, so let's see some of these picks here. Clay, you grabbed Mingo there, a guy who I've been noticing has been dropping in drafts lately. Rondell Moore goes to Andy. Andy, how do you expect Rondell Moore's 3.2 ADOT to ever find your way into your starting lineup?
He's not. I didn't want to pick a single player who was on the board, and so
Does he have a week 13 bye? Tell me he has.
no, it's week
13 bye.
14. It was close enough.
oh
Oh
man,
goodness. It's a bummer. You ruined it.
In hindsight, I think I wish I had taken Jalen Hyatt, but
Hayden, I assume some people have sent you some of their perceived weekly winners masterpieces. What's like the most galaxy brain idea you've seen from someone?
Bimeford did a Howell Cole Turner solo.
Did see that.
That one was like,
yeah,
okay,
that one made me a
we're
little sick.
really doing it. But to be
I love
fair,
that shit. By the way, that was
Yeah.
incredible.
I had to look into the Cole Turner profile, and he is officially now on my radar because of that tweet.
That's so funny. Yeah, I know. I asked people, I was doing best ball breakfast, and I think I had a Howell team and I was needing a tight end. And I was like, wait, is Cole Turner a thing, guys? Are we drafting him? Because I'm more than willing to mix him in, but I just need permission that he's actually a thing.
Big Nevada, like caught like 60 passes. Actually was playing. I think he's firmly in the why the hell not.
damn,
Okay.
Tank Dell at 162. Is that what his ADP is around in this, or
ADP does not
Clay?
matter as much in weekly winners, Andy. No, he's up. He's a pretty far up there. though.
178.
178. So
is
it's
That's
a
crazy.
little reach, but bro, you tell me. Does you like Isaiah Hodgins more than Tank Dell right now?
yeah?
Oh, I don't like that with that. I don't know. About
Hayden, to circle back, I assume when you do Lamar Andrews, you're not doing anything else with quarterback and tight end, just playing for those weeks.
If there was a tight end that I thought has like 20-point upside to be in my flex, I think like 10% of the top 1% teams started a tight end, but that would be the only thing, and that's pretty rare.
Is Rashid Shaheed hurt? Did something happen to him?
He's out a little bit, but it didn't sound like too serious.
Anything
Yeah,
else you like there?
if you click Shaheed, however you say his name, Underdog's little blurb 8 days ago, on track to miss time, groin muscle injury.
Sounds good.
No concerns for week 1.
All right.
Sold.
No concerns for week 1. That's all I need.
Is that the week you're optimizing for?
Well, see, what happens to me is on stream, I'll be like, oh, why is Rashi Rice falling around past ADP? And then everyone will be like, oh, he got dinged up. You didn't see that? He got dinged up. And then I'm like, well, is he going to miss the whole fucking season? Or am I still allowed to draft this guy?
Yeah, his funeral's tomorrow. It's crazy.
Well, it's fun to see like who still has the 32 beat reporters notifications on or who's thrown in the towel. Like I've sadly had to throw in the notification towel because of every single injury scares. It's mind numbing.
It's half the
right.
fun though, man.
Hayden, who should we do here?
Jeez. Jeff Wilson. He's going to rise in ADP. I still think he has a chance to be the goal line back. Let's chop off some of these Dolphins teams while we're at it.
There we go. We do the Mostert and Wilson, which kind of goes back to those two cheap running back ideas. And you get like in these games where these guys go massive, you're probably cratering, like you said, the Tyreek Hill and Waddle teams. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. We got 3 more rounds here. I thought Tajay Spears would have been a fun pick too.
3 tight ends or no?
You have Hawkinson, right?
Hawk. Yeah.
I wouldn't if I had Hawk, but
okay.
Like
and
Hayden was saying earlier, I think that the tight ends at this range like project as good as a lot of the wide receivers, especially like someone like Chig who's slipped now 20 spots.
That's who I was gonna take. But
if he gets back to me, I'm taking him.
Can I can take 2 Bills, right? Shakir and Knox.
For sure. This late. I think anything after like round 7 is like completely free game.
Okay.
So Hayden,
don't tempt me with a good time.
So Hayden, this
queue up Flacco right now.
You don't. I mean, Jack will do it for a bit.
I mean, you don't think that Flacco had 1 weekly winners week last year?
Dooley, have you crunched the data on that? He might have actually.
He is unique. We talked about how uniqueness matters more here. This is the time to get your Flacco takes off.
And you do look at the board here. This is definitely like a pro case for doing late skinny stacks. Like it's like, look at, say I took Waddle instead of Lamar Jackson. All of a sudden you're sitting on Sutton here and Russell Wilson is available at 177. Like you can build out cheap skinny stacks in these rooms, which is really nice.
Looking at this like room right now, I feel like there was a really good case to have gone no QB early. Like if you had said to me, hey, your last 3 picks of the draft, you could have Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, and Stafford or Purdy. Like I'd be like, okay, I don't need Justin
tight
Fields.
end too, right? Like you could have gone Chig there, Knox I got, and you still got Ferguson.
Yeah, Musgrave's still available. Hunter Henry.
Next week,
these tight ends are so good.
I'm not drafting next to Andy, man. And my team would look so different if I had been able to get Kamara and Zach Charbonnet. And then I could have like kept pushing quarterback. Could have got a panic picked. Who the fuck did I panic pick after you?
You picked Devontae Parker?
Yeah, I did take Devontae Parker.
Clay knows ball.
What's wrong with that?
This is also
the worst wide receiver in football.
No, I got Hayden here to defend me, so I was like, let's go for it. Like,
I will say though, this is the range of draft for me. Like Khalil Shakur is the canary in the get unique and scroll the F down coal mine. Like when I think of the Bills and you think of Deontay Hardy or Sherfield, like this is the realm where these guys are getting drafted in 100% of drafts, but we don't actually have certainty that they're the wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's crazy that Jack wanted to draft Hardy's backup so early.
So
when you're had like a 40-yard catch in the playoff game. Like that is upside, guys. Come on.
But I think this is where you can get really weird. These last 3 picks and like the ADP is, you can fully throw it out the window. We'll see if we can practice what we.
I totally agree.
Pete.
Yeah.
Justice Hill, if they're going to change this offense, they signed him to a 2-year, $5 million contract. He's playing ahead of Gus Bus because he's a pass catching guy. If J.K. Dobbins wants to fuck around and find out, maybe this is the year for Justice Hill.
Jack, can you text Marlon and ask if this is
Justice Hill?
Why was he playing with the starters? I'm confused by it.
Huntley started the second half. Harbaugh was literally just fucking around.
Yeah, I'm guessing that is the case, but I've heard of worse round 18 guys.
Well, I'm about to
I don't know.
16.
I don't know if I've heard worse. Justice Hill's the slowest fast person of all time. Like he gets on the edge and is not breaking away from anyone. And the Mitchell kid, who's the undrafted, he had an explosive run. I mean, it was a holding call, but Justice Hill. We don't throw to our running backs. Maybe we will.
I've heard enough. Jack hating this pick makes me feel so good about it. All right, Jack, what are you going to do here with your 16th round pick? You gotta make up for the Shakir pick.
What am I? 1-5. Oh, I already have Rashee Rice, but Richie James is so good. Isaiah Likely.
You can take Justin Ross. He left on the front of the cart.
I know. I mean, there's no way that Deuce Vaughn does anything, but he's cute, so I'm gonna roll with him.
This guy making fun of Justice Hill, and then he takes the Justice Hill on the Cowboys.
It's a great comp.
Hayden, what other Galbrain late pick should we add on here?
Josh Reynolds for sure. Who else? Oh, like Slayton's an actually good pick.
Yeah.
Same thing with Claypool, I think.
I do like Claypool.
I mean, people forget they basically spent a first round pick. Chase Claypool is basically a first round pick in the 17th, 18th round.
Hey,
Yeah.
could we just shut the fuck up until I get to draft him?
Will Allen Robinson catch a touchdown this season?
Sadly, there was a snap where he was playing in 2 wide receiver sets over George Pickens.
Oh,
Okay.
You hate to see it.
What round did Wandale get drafted in?
Who?
He's still on the board.
Wandale.
I don't think he's mostly going to be drafted.
In the real draft. In the real draft.
Oh, I have no idea.
Third.
Was he second or third? Yeah.
Oh, I'm on the clock.
Who's it going to be, Jack? Talk out your thoughts. The people need the alpha. Nelson Aguilar. When are you going to start giving us the inside info from the Humphrey pod?
We're working on the clip right now.
Who did you just take?
I've never seen that player's name. in my life.
He's wide receiver 3. He's WR3. Waddle goes down.
Hayden, have you ever said this name out loud on a stream?
I haven't said it, but I was listening to this game this weekend, and they pronounced it in a way that I would not. It was like Uzumakama or something like that. It was like a soft A and then a hard A. It was all over the place.
Braxton is not wide receiver 3. You guys are obsessed with punt returners.
Jack, say who
These
you
guys are
drafted.
not.
Say
Eric-
the name of the guy.
Eric Azuki. That's what
Eric
I call him.
Azuki.
That's my
Azuki?
nickname.
Andy.
That's my
Oh, man.
nickname for him.
Oh
Bro,
shit! I'm on the clock, aren't I?
Zook's gonna play out wide over Braxton. Like Braxton, one of them will be in the slot, and Barrios, he's like, he's heartbroken over Alex Earl. There's a lot going on with Braxton, so
I
you gotta go
to bring up Alex.
And you know what, Tyler, you're drafting Braxton. I'm drafting Zuki. Let's just get unique with each other.
Jack went from bagging on Justice Hill to drafting Zuki so quickly.
Yo, we went from bagging on
You guys
Devontae
see
Parker.
the name of the guy who got picked up today by some team? It seemed like a fake name.
This like Adarn Schefter report, Andy.
That's just like an incredible thing.
Zazavian-
you see
Zazavian
that report
Valaday.
about the guy that got picked up by the team?
Say it again.
Xavier
Andy.
who?
Zazavian Valaday. Spelled Xazavian, last name Valaday, Valladay.
Love
It sounds like a fake name.
The 101 of Scrabble, my Scrabble
Yeah.
leagues.
Apparently, was decent in
Was
college
your
football
punt
last
kick
year, but
punt
I
kick
don't
Scrabble
watch it.
Honestly, Eric Azunkanma might be in your Scrabble league. He might be up there too.
We're at the point of the stream where we're getting phonetic spellings in the chat.
It's helpful.
George.
Oh shit! All right, who's my last pick gonna be? I mean, is it the Justin Ross last round? Maybe he didn't absolutely demolish his legs. Who knows? Pick. I
He
think.
didn't.
It's the
But
front of the
Denzel
card pick.
Mims is on the board, so be careful.
What?
Randall
Oh,
Cobb
Denzel.
doesn't get picked.
Do you think he should?
No, but like, isn't it weird that like he still plays in the NFL?
He's not
It
that
is weird.
old, I don't think.
You guys, you could take Equinemius and just hope Underdog like glitches out and makes his points come from Amon Ra. Could be a
There's a
strategy.
pattern matching here. Oh my god!
Oh,
All right,
yeah. I
Hayden,
don't think
give me
Randall
one-
Cobb's as old as people think he is.
It's like 33.
Hey,
Yeah.
I need one more super deep cut here. Who's getting drafted in less than 5% of these?
Isaiah Spiller, Joshua Kelly, snipe off
I
the
like
Eckler
it.
team.
Let's do Spiller.
Jordan Mason will also be another good one.
I've started taking him a
He's
bit.
good. He's actually good.
I'm on Team Mason over TDP. I assume you are.
Oh hell yeah, TDP.
Yeah,
is
everyone
the
is,
next
right?
Chris Herman.
Well, I took Mason, and everyone was like, "Oh, you took TDP's back." I'm like, "Are we seriously? Mason's way better.
What about Mac Hollins?
He's good."
Are you making fun of me, or is
No.
like I feel
One-
like he
one of
could
my
catch 2
silverware league.
touchdowns, right?
He had a game with what 30+ points 1 week last year.
Did he?
He
He had
Really?
one. He had one
Yes, he
monster
did.
game. Yeah.
Everyone
All
tried to
right.
shit on him as a DFS pick that week.
I'm gonna just auto draft my top of queue.
Jesus.
Oh my
Chad.
Wow.
He had to do it. He had to do it.
How
Is that-
many? All right. How many weekly? There's only one weekly winners tournament, right?
Yeah,
But there's 17 weekly winner champions.
All right. There's 17 weekly winners. How many of those will include an 18th round pick? What do you guys think?
Ooh, that's a good.
Like
question.
how many actual first place winners will have their 18th round pick score points for them?
zero.
Correct.
0.
Zero.
It's
I think
Yeah,
it happens
look at
once.
the, look
I
at
would-
the
I-
Leone curve, the same one that was in the manifesto. I think it will be exactly like that.
Yeah, if you open it up to like top 10 each week, I think you start to see a couple sneak into the top 10.
Look, when Kelsey retires week 7 and then Noah Gray scores.
Oh, it's so no
that's your week
season.
18. Baby, don't get me started.
What? Wait, the Kelsey
Whoa.
brothers are dual retiring mid-season to promote their podcast. Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's what I heard. They're taking the bus.
it's all bit.
So I think
There
we
you
need
go.
Hayden to rank our teams, Pete. Because
Ooh,
you got a
I
few
like
minutes
that.
before we have to bounce off stream. I think we need
It's-
the score and
Well,
rank.
yeah,
from
we'll
our
do
esteemed
rapid
guest
fire scores here.
You think
for-
0? Like
No, I think Luke
Maybe-
Musgrave is good for 2 of them.
okay. Wait, what about
It's the late-
Stafford could easily
No.
because you guys are thinking like running back, wide receiver, but like Stafford could be on a winning team, no?
Or just tied in. If you go like late round tight end approach,
Yeah,
like
well,
four,
right.
like
But
you're
it
gonna hit.
could be as a different conversation than of the 17 winners, how many will have someone from week 18?
Yeah.
Like if
Well, you
I had
said
to just
0.
bet,
Yeah.
straight up, I'd bet 0.
All right, if
But,
I
you know,
put
there's
it the
some
line at
percentage.
half, what would you bet?
Even money?
Yeah.
I think I'll take. I
Under.
think that'll
Well,
be a tight end. I think they'll
Minus
be a tight
120. The Book of Jack takes a lot of juice. It's for different costs, but
end. Are you
would take
logging
over?
against the Jack?
Yeah, I'm squeezing the juice on Underdog at minus 150 both sides.
Well, I think Hayden's probably going to rank our team the best because he helped me draft it. So that's
would
a
hope
pretty
so.
easy. Yeah.
That's right. It's not
who,
biased. Yeah.
who else did you like, Hayden?
Let's see. Let me look at these teams. So we got the Tua Tyreek stack with Zeke. The
Zuki.
double.
Yeah.
That team looks good to me. That team's live.
That team's live. Let's check out Clay's here. Chickened out on his Anthony Richardson pick and had to add Jared Goff.
Right.
You
Stack,
had
though.
Purdy in the
Single
last
stack.
round, Clay.
Single stack. Yeah, no, I
A
did
little
see
worried
that.
about your running backs, Clay.
I think that team's good too. Got Devontae Parker on there. The Isaiah Likely hedge. I like that.
Boom.
Yeah, I think
Trying
that
to
team's
cuck
good
my
too.
team, Clay?
Mhm.
Trying to cuck my team. with
Wait,
that-
what's
that
this
likely?
Devontae Parker stuff?
Look at his game logs, man. He had like 4 games of over 80 yards last year. Full-time guy. Got the
Really?
bag.
Wide
He
receiver
sucks,
1
but-
on a team that doesn't pass a lot, but he's still wide receiver 1.
Here's Andy's team does get the second tight end with Kittle, but the nice Chig value. What do you think of this one, Hayden?
We got Fields, DJ Moore, good running backs. Yeah, I think I like this team the most of them.
Look at all
It's a-
these week
it's a-
13 buys too.
It's a good team. I like guys like Charbonnet. Sound really
Me
good.
too.
Yeah.
He has that like
Pete,
baseline, and then there's the world where Walker gets hurt, and all of a sudden he's just like such a smash in
Yep.
this, even if it's for a couple weeks.
Same with
Yeah,
Montgomery.
the reason you're worried about my running backs is Andy has them all. That's why.
I'm
worried
worried
need-
about
I
wide
need-
receivers on
I
that
need
team.
Tyler
Not quite
to
as strong as I'd like.
find me on social media so that we can place a wager on who scores more fantasy points this year, Zook or Braxton.
It sounds like
I'm
the
very excited.
saddest prop bet I've ever heard. Like that sweat, it's just gonna be like who gets to 2 catches
Pete,
by week.
we
8
bet
first?
on how many times Joe Flacco would start a game 2 years ago, and ironically, it was versus Jalen Hurts, who it seems like Hurts has solidified his role.
Yeah, I think that one went in Hurts' favor. Well, Hayden, appreciate you swinging by. Have been digging all of the weekly winners strategy talk. Are you going to be doing anything else on it over on the Underdog channel?
Yeah, probably eventually. We'll do some drafts over there, but please fill this so I can keep my job. That'd be great.
I will say I'm pretty sure I've gotten the bug to max it. So I won't be able to do it with all fast drafts, unfortunately, but we will, you will probably catch me in the slow draft streets for sure. Andy, Clay, Jack, any final words here?
No, this was fun. I'm having fun with this weekly winners weekly draft for us now. It's a nice change of pace as someone who's just desperately trying to max all of these regular
Yeah.
tournaments. It's nice to get out of that mindset for a bit.
And I'll be looking, if you need extra incentive, because I'll be doing my Monday morning review show, and then we'll have the Monday night game. So we'll be able to go through the weekly winners leaderboard on Monday morning, seeing who has the sweat to get there. So get your entries in, and you can enjoy the sweats on Mondays with me. Appreciate Underdog. Yes, Jack, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, just real quick, Hayden, will there be live scoring?
There will be live scoring. And that's like the other fun wrinkle, like Pete was saying, is Sunday night, you'll all be in first place and you'll be looking at that damn leaderboard for Monday Night Football.
You have no
So it'll be
shot.
fun.
The person
Yes.
who I would say the person who leads Sunday probably no, I guess they'd have a decent shot. You get a
hang on.
Monday night.
Tony, I forgot. I wish you would have told me this before. I guess I can play it from the tweet here. Have you guys seen the Slappies video?
I don't think I have. No.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let me scroll down through Davis's awful timeline and find this. Holy cow, Davis. How many? Okay, here it is. The pursuit of slappiness. This is how we will go out today. Compliments of Lou and Tony. We appreciate Hayden joining us today. Here's a walk-off video here for everybody.
Reach your bits for Kyle Pitts, pair him with Greg Dulcich, deposit, feeling right, 200 or less than 9, I don't care, hand on the mouse, drafting chalk, I'm doing my thing, AT, West Road receivers, Judy Scott and Richard James, people told me draft bureau, I'm gonna do a lamb stack, I'm a draft who everyone wants, Zach Charbonnet first running back, if I fail, know that I read the only to the fullest, oops I failed, I can't lie, skimmed a bit and missed some bullets. I'm on the list to the slappiness, and I know I'm drafting better than a shame and talking shows. I'll be enshrined in my Discord. They'll say I'm good.
All right.
That was
Incredible
really good.
work. We'll